Hey everybody, and welcome to the Monday meeting with me and Abby of Vienna in different locations again because we're all on lockdown still.
Moving around, trying new settings.
Where are you?
So I'm back with my family,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm currently in our kitchen in my mum's flat. So we've got as you can see, there's Animal Crossing on the
Nice, topical.
I've got a little sister who is now on her Easter holidays, so she's playing Animal Crossing. My brother is still working from home. He's sat over there on the sofa. You can't see him, but he's also on a call. So essentially, anything could happen at this point. Like there's all the drama, everything's going on, and I've tried to warn people to stop noise or minimize noise, but there's not a lot we can do about it.
It's realism, right? At its best, everybody's dealing with
the true work from home life.
100%. At the moment, I have no one and nothing, so it's actually kind of worse. Probably great for cool. Yeah, no one and nothing. Cries deeply internally. What did you do this weekend?
So we went out for a walk around, like, quite lucky where my mum is. She's near the countryside, so we just managed to go out for quite like a long walk around here, which was really, really nice. I did a puzzle because I get a bit obsessive with finishing things, and so I started a 1,000-piece puzzle and then proceeded to finish it in about 5 hours. So wow. I can't stop. And then I also to top off the slight OCD that I currently have at the moment, I also reorganized all of my mum's kitchen's cupboards on top of everything else. So I had a full-blown organizing weekend, which made me feel like I was being productive. And then we just watched a load of films, and we've set out this whole list of films and TV series that we're going to watch whilst we're in lockdown, because it could be a while. So yeah, a lot of binging. I played a lot of Animal Crossing because I am a massive fan. Me and my brother and sister are all massive fans of it, so we'll just play it. We all have it on our own Switches, which is hilarious.
Probably not a better time to bring out a new game, right? Because everybody's just going to be.
They brought it forward, I think, so to maximize it. Like, it's mad. And also, it's got this whole side note, got this whole user you can play with other people via the online mode, so you can interact with people in other places. Yeah. It's kind of like what Call of Duty is like for gamers.
For me,
to do it. And then Animal Crossing kind of is like that, but it's much more Animal Crossing-y.
Slightly less brutal, not much shooting, I would hope. But yeah,
you can see from here.
But you can tell it's popular because, I think I know a few people that have been trying to buy Nintendo Switches and they're sold out basically everywhere. It's madness. But
I'm really glad I got mine at Christmas. So
digital downloads are just going to be going through the roof, though. I imagine
it's mad. It's mad. All the games.
No.
But yeah, how about you? What was your weekend like?
Just before I go into that, I was just noticing the plants in the background and was just like, is that a peace lily? Because mine died, and that one is doing
but it's
really
not
well.
mine, it's my mum's, and also it's probably one of the only plants it's the only plant I've ever seen her actually not kill. So
fair.
I would.
Well, actually, good excuse for a little cheeky, because we haven't done it in a while, member feature of the week. With Hedira, who will help you not kill your plants, right? And so I got it too late because my peace lily is already dead, and I've not.
So in fairness, my mum thought this peace lily was dead. My mum thought this peace lily was dead, and there is now obviously it's obviously coming back to life. So maybe it's not as dead as you think it is. Maybe. I did. It caught us all off guard.
I'm gonna send you a photo of it. I think you might think it's dead. Basically, it's a carcass right now. Weekend. What did I do? I went for a run. Been trying to get my fitness back up. No better time for doing that, because you got to keep saying somehow. So did 10k yesterday. That was nice. My legs were hurting a lot. They're fine today though, so I think I'm starting to condition and get back into it, although I'm standing at my standing desk makeshift because I need to keep that blood flow going, otherwise my legs will seize up. At 30 years old, that starts to happen apparently. So that's the thing. Disney Plus, same with Animal Crossing, I think, right? They just brought it out at the perfect time, and I know some people have a tinfoil hat on about all of this stuff, but I think it's just serendipitous and coincidental timing, and the fact that they must be doing insanely well financially, because everybody's just downloading it and watching, just as I know you have, watching The Mandalorian and cooing over Baby Yoda. And I have to shout out, because I think it's an absolutely brilliant documentary, Imagineering, which is a little less obvious on the app, but is fantastic kind of document as to how Disney came to be as a company, and also where it was going to go before Walt Disney sadly passed away. So I highly recommend watching it. I won't do any spoilers, but there's some.
That's really cool. I
really
haven't watched it yet. We did watch some of the Jeff Goldblum documentary.
That is possibly the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's honestly the best TV I've ever watched. There is nothing. It just combines so many of my favorite things. It's like a weird kind of like How It's Made style program.
The trainer one was insane.
The trainer was really good. Did an ice cream one, but combined with Jeff Goldblum, it's a combo I needed. But
you can't not smile at it. Honestly, I giggled so much. Like when he was doing the so for those who haven't seen it yet, he does like a run test with some trainers on, and he's doing a bop, and obviously in his like classic Jeff Goldblum like style, and it's just the most genius thing I've seen. So yeah, I completely agree, and I'm rationing it because I don't want to get through it too fast. So
you gotta save that.
Lots of binging, and also using Headspace as well, just because I feel like this will come in my learnings in a second, but been using that a little bit because sleep is either amazing or terrible at the moment. I think it's an anxiety thing, so yeah, it's been really, really helpful and can't recommend it more. But that was my weekend. Lots of stuff, and that does help me move on to my topical piece, but I'm curious as to what yours is first.
So I can't remember where I saw it. It came up with some news feed somewhere. This thing called the Waffle House Index came up, which is essentially so Waffle House is a American chain of waffle houses. It's pretty famous. I think they've got something like 2,000 stores, I think, across the US. And in the past, they created the index originally because it was about the amount of waffle houses shut down after a natural disaster reflected how bad the disaster was. So, so they've used FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management group that they have in the US. Actually kind of like unofficially uses it as a way to determine where they allocate resources after a natural disaster because of the amount of waffle houses that have closed, whether it's after a hurricane or flooding or anything like that. So then I saw a tweet about it or something about it, about now it's currently on the index, it's currently on red, so I'm guessing there's like a traffic light system and red is like the highest it can go because currently due to the coronavirus, and I say coronavirus and I've been told it's coronavirus and that's
but we know historically, I don't know whether everybody else knows, that you pronounce quite literally everything wrong, so the way you say it is always going to be the opposite, so it is coronavirus. Have you ever been to a bar and ordered a Corona? No, you haven't. It's
like if you say it, but it's not named after the beer, then don't perpetuate that.
Okay, fine. No, that's true. Share price.
But currently there are as of last week there were 450 waffle houses closed around the US. Whoa. Which put it at like a red level on the index.
Well, temporarily closed because closed down.
Closed because of only temporarily. So it doesn't mean they've shut down and they've gone. It just means that they've closed their doors. I think a lot of them are doing like takeaway services at the moment. So there's some of them are still active, but I just thought it was just really random but super interesting.
Well, I think it's a commentary on how social things kind of mark levels of change, right? Like over here, when McDonald's decided they weren't going to be open anymore and they were only switching to delivery, or like not even delivering. Actually, I don't think they're doing that at the moment because I don't think I can find it on Uber Eats because I've definitely looked maybe once. And that was like a big thing for people. Like people were tweeting with the notice that McDonald's had up or had shared on Twitter. They were retweeting it and sharing it on Instagram and stuff, and with the message along the lines of like, "Oh my God, this is real now." And you're like, well, why does it have to get to a point where McDonald's closes that it becomes real? And obviously, there's just different levels of like dystopia that we're in. If you can't order a McDonald's, we're at kind of a critical level of surrealness. So yeah, there's it's interesting because we can make light of it. We can use it to make light of this like crazy situation rather than focusing and dwelling on the negativity. But yeah, really interesting. Waffle houses. So you can't order waffles anymore.
There needs to be like a Greg's version or something for the UK. I was like, there needs to be a UK based equivalent. But like this is like an official index. Like Waffle House are the ones actually tweeting about it. They're the ones who created this like the definition for it.
That's a
I just
great
feel
PR.
someone in the UK needs to be doing that now. Like there must be a chain, a UK based chain that is like can do that right now. And I just think, I thought it was great. And as you said, in the midst of all the doom and gloom, it was something that still, be it was based in something not particularly happy, but did put a smile on my face when I saw it, because I just thought it was great. So
it's a quick win there. Like if anyone from a PR agency is watching this or listening, then there's a huge opportunity to pitch that brief to any one of your clients, and I guess kind of get them talking about it. I look forward to watching the Marks and Spencer's index or Greg's index, or I don't know what else is closed, but the everything index, the gym index, geez, so close.
Very good.
What
about you? What's your topical thing for the week?
So my topical thing for the week is Houseparty. For if people that don't know what Houseparty is, it's like Zoom but for friends. It's less professional, more informal. I hadn't really, I'd seen it kind of bounced around, and I'm usually a really early adopter, but only an early adopter when it's really highly filtered. Right now, there is no filter. People are just trying new things all the time. And so generally, I'll get to things before my mum knows about it. That's why I know like crypto is not really a thing yet, because my mum doesn't really understand what Bitcoin is. Therefore, it's not a thing yet. Therefore, it's still early enough to get on board, etc. No, not promoting crypto. I'm pretty bearish on it. But Houseparty is the same. So like my friends all started using it, and I was like, oh, maybe I've missed the boat, but actually maybe it's not a thing because I'm not using it before my friends. Anyway, it's a video chat app, and frankly, for all of the PR and press and use that it's getting right now, not a big fan. Like I joined it, and the amount of push notifications is obscene. Like, and I don't use that word lightly. I've not even opened my phone for the last like 10 minutes. Guarantee I've probably got one. Yep, I've got one. Showing me that it's online in a room, and they're in the house. Apparently, that's the kind of language they use, which is cool. But I've turned off all my notifications, and I'm still getting them. And so, like, I don't know. Maybe that's a me thing. Maybe I'm just a bit, I'm being left behind by technology, and I'm not really understanding it anymore, and I'm just a grumpy old man now. But the user interface is not great at best. And I'm not doing it to bash companies. Like I hope they do well out of it, and I hope and I think it's great because it's bringing people together without having to pay for things. But in the world that we live in, where Zoom is a unicorn valued company, I'm surprised that there isn't a better video conferencing solution, social platform for just consumer level individuals. It surprises me that that's not great. I'm curious though to see what innovations they bring if they do improve on the UI.
They've been around, I think, a lot longer than you realise. My sister said she first got it a couple of years ago, so I think they're fairly old within the market and have seen a kind of a very short term surge in users, like kind of out the blue, and so that's probably why the experience isn't as good, because it never was
haven't needed to be.
I personally I love the game element of it. Like there's nothing else that I know that I've used that allows you to play games in the
there's a trivia thing, isn't there?
There's loads of different games. So that's like the main point, is that you can play like Pictionary and like Heads Up and all these like other kind of
all right, maybe I'll give it another chance, but it's just really annoying with this.
Otherwise it's just glorified like WhatsApp video chat. Like that's not it's all about one, the games you can play, and two, essentially being able to jump into other people's calls. So like if you see a friend who's at a house,
weird.
But that's the whole premise of it. It's all about, that's why it's called
House. I feel okay with that though, just to be able to walk in.
Gate crashing a house party. It's essentially what the premise is.
That's literally trespassing though.
Yeah, but it's not. But obviously, it's you consent to it by using the game, using the app in the first place. So I would give the games a go.
Okay, I'll give the games a go.
Otherwise, you're right. It's just a glorified like conferencing software that. But the games are what make it.
And I think the less is more angle, like the ability for it to just really simply divide your screen up and have everybody talk equally at the same time in an equal segment on the screen. Love that. Like nothing else really does that, and I don't know why. It's like it's a simple part of it, but it does it really well, and it's really nice. It's just that overlaid menu thing is just really confusing. It is very Snapchatty, which also not a fan of, but still. So that's my topical piece for the week, which I'm sure many people are probably engaged with right now. But yeah, what about last week? What went on? What did you learn? What happened?
So the main thing that I think I kind of worked on, or we worked on together last week. So last week in the Monday meeting, we kind of mentioned this new service that we wanted to trial with our members around kind of like maybe the idea of the perfect introduction and being able to match people up based on a load of different kind of like key metrics, and then create a really like powerful connection as a result. So we trialed like the very first version of that outside of what we normally do with the introduction and stuff that we do on a regular basis anyway. And we tested it with about 20 of our members. They all filled out this kind of like, I guess, profile essentially around themselves and their business, their experience, the challenges they're facing, and kind of the skills that they've got. And then we matched them up with other people within the community based on the answers they gave to those questions. And yeah, I think we made something like 45, 50 introductions in total, which is really, really cool to be able to like look through that and be like, okay, that's a tangible outcome that we've done. And then we'll also be following up with people in like next week to see kind of what the quality of the introductions was actually like, and if anything's come out of it, and that sort of thing. But yeah, I just think it was a really cool thing. I think at the moment when everyone, especially solo founders, I think, but specifically freelancers and solo founders are feeling very isolated at the moment because of the current situation. If you can't go to a co-working space and be surrounded by other people that you normally work with, like where are you going to meet those new people and just have those conversations about your business right now, if you're with your family or with your friends or whatever? It felt like a really important time to be making those connections between people in our community. And
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the results of it. I think
I'm really excited. Yeah,
really appreciative of it. So yeah, it's a seemingly small thing that can have the biggest impact, I think. 100%.
I think it's going to be super powerful, and yeah, and hopefully we'll get some good feedback, and we'll talk about the feedback that we get for it kind of in the next whatever Monday meeting ends up being the one closest to when the feedback we get is. So yeah, no, that was kind of the thing that I would say like I learned from last week around actually understanding that there is a logic behind the introductions that we make, and that we can do it on a bigger scale as long as we have the correct information given to us. So it's all about kind of learning and kind of starting to flesh out what an algorithm would look like for this sort of service in the future. So yeah, so that was really, really cool. Nice. But what about you? What is it that you learned or focused on?
So for me, I think it was like more personal. It was still work-based, but it kind of leaks into personal, which is around like, I don't really know how to kind of describe it or explain it, but like throughout last week, this anyway, I was talking, and it's always good to be transparent, but I was having like chest pains and stuff, and misunderstanding that as potentially maybe a symptom of something. I had a cold at the same time, like a light one, but you read into it and maybe there's some kind of hypochondria going on there a little bit, placebo-y effect, but yeah, and so that was happening, and we discussed that maybe there's some kind of level of anxiety and so on. And looking back at it, I think it was mostly that. I think like I don't know how close I was to anything like really formally happening, but I think there was definitely signs of some kind of like high level of anxiety, not necessarily attack level, but I think like I don't know how long an anxiety attack can go on for. If it can go on for a whole week and be spread out over the whole week, then that's kind of what it was. But I think it was just like really high for the whole week. And so, so I think for me, it's been like it's more of like what happened last week was more of a learning experience. Kind of felt like I had no real purpose and was kind of all over the place a little bit. And that was making me angry. And then the anger was manifesting in anxiety. And I don't get angry usually. And so it was just like a weird scenario for me to be like shouting at myself every now and again, and you're just like, I don't really understand why I'm doing this. And I know why I'm doing it. It's because it's a reaction to what's going on right now, but on the surface don't feel like it's affecting me, but clearly it was and is. And so I think it's like a psychological thing, a mental health thing, where it's just like a
at what point do you think you kind of recognize it was anxiety? Because I know, so we have like catch up kind of every day, and like I know that I'd kind of said to you a couple of times, like, I think it probably is anxiety, and that I obviously don't want to like push that home too hard, but like important to flag up when either of us sees something like that in the other person anyway. But yeah, I'm just intrigued to know, because obviously I said that a couple of times, but I know that you were kind of convinced at least that it wasn't, or at least outwardly you weren't kind of like saying that it was. So yeah, at what point
I don't know. I think knowing you're anxious during your anxiety is like, it's kind of a meta thing where you don't want to be, therefore you almost aren't trying to acknowledge it. You're trying to fight against it. So I think the time that I kind of realized that was going on properly, I knew it was all the way through regardless, but I wasn't sure how much of it was one and how much was the other, because I had a cold at the same time, and it was like there's blurred line here and I don't know which is which. But yeah, like the cold is kind of like sorted itself out now over the last week. And so I think, yeah, on the weekend, just took some time to chill out and was like, okay, the time that I'm not engaging in stressful activity, like, you know, work's not necessarily stressful, but it's one of the stressors that I would have, I guess. And so when I'm not, that's like I feel okay. And so as soon as the health was, you know, physical health was back to normal, it was like, okay, well, I take that out of the equation, but some of this stress still exists. Therefore, it's not a health thing. It's something like that. So it's kind of almost like a process of elimination, I guess. But now it's almost like a hindsight thing where you look back and you're like, okay, that was what that was. Therefore, now I can kind of react and start handling that. And it's like, okay, if you get to that point where you are angry or anxious, it's like, take an hour out, like chill out. And that's why I mentioned briefly earlier Headspace. It's been really good from like sleeping, as I said, it's either been amazing when I've managed to get to sleep on time, or sometimes on time for me is like before midnight, but because I'm a night owl anyway. But last night I think I got to sleep at about 2 a.m. and it's not healthy, but it's just also it's not something I can affect. But the one way I have been able to affect it is by, I'm not a big meditations guy. Like I fidget a lot. People know that. That's me. I'm kind of undiagnosed ADHD angle, but the ability just to take kind of like 5-10 minutes out or half an hour, depending on the length of the meditation you do, has been helpful. You know, just before sleep, it's like a 5 minutes of somebody just talking to you in like somber tones, and it really chills you out and mellows you out. So yeah, definitely recommend it. It's been really, really helpful.
Quick question, does it do that one where, because I've seen like an advert for it and it has something to do with like the relaxing like different parts of your body, and I don't know whether you've done that one yet, just because it's just reminding me of that conversation we had a couple of weeks ago where with Matt Pennycard, when he came into the office, and we were chatting about how like different sleep patterns and stuff and how people get to sleep. And I said that one of the really weird things that like I was told when I was, one thing that I've kind of just grown up doing, and like because my mum taught me to do it when I was a kid, when I really struggled to sleep when I was younger, was like relaxing every single muscle in your body kind of one at a time, and then like from your toes and your hand, like every extreme all the way up to like your face, and like you can just feel each one relax, and that being really, really, really useful. And yeah, it just reminds me of that, because I think I saw that in the advert that they had for it. Like that was one of the like meditations that they had.
I would say, like, you know, I don't know, I know barely anything about meditation, but I think that's one of like the core fundamentals of meditation. Whenever I've done one or tried an app or been on Calm or Headspace or whatever it is, they'll generally get you to obviously focus on your breathing first, and then think about like, okay, focus on certain points of your body, which will be like your feet, your legs, and then work all the way up, and then you think about your hands and your fingers, and then as you think about those and let those go, your body then relaxes by default. It's fascinating to me because I'm big on psychology, and I'm just curious as to how like the mind controls the body and vice versa. But also, yeah, it kind of harks back to something I heard anecdotally. I don't know how true this is, but I've read or heard somewhere, I think it might have been a podcast, where this guy mentioned that as part of their training in, I want to say the Marines or something like that, they had to learn how to sleep in like the most stressful situations, like literally in a war zone. And to do that is, you know, nigh on impossible without training. So what they would do is they would follow this kind of set rule of relaxing, and picturing one of two scenes. And I can't remember the other one, but there was one which was like, picture yourself in a rowboat in the middle of a lake at night looking up at the stars, because then you kind of start to like think about the motion of that, and it's relaxing in of itself. But also you have to intensely tense every muscle in your body for like 5 minutes, including your face, and screw all of that up and then let it go. And I don't know what it does. There might be some endorphin aspect to it, but yeah, so if they're doing it and they're doing it because that's part of their training, there's probably something to it. But your words around even if you're not asleep, you're still resting, and that's just as good, even though that's medically not necessarily true.
No, it's not true. But honestly, it's changed my life. Like I literally, if I can't sleep, I'll lie there and just tell myself, it's fine. If you're not sleeping, you're better than being up. You're just resting, and you're still building up energy for the next day. And I don't think there's necessarily any science to that. But I've told myself that for such a young age that it helps me de-stress and takes the pressure out. I
think that's the science of it. I think the science of it isn't like physiological, because that's not necessarily true, right? You need your REM sleep to be able to recover properly. But if you think about that, it takes the because like meta anxiety of sleeping is being anxious or angry that you're not asleep, which stops you from sleeping even more. Get to like 2:30 and you're like, oh, I really can't sleep, and that stops you sleeping. So what that has done, like when I get to that point, it's weird because now I think that in my head, and it takes some of the anxiety away, and and that helps you relax more, which then gets you to sleep in turn. So it does actually help.
And I also do think that quite often you're closer to sleep than you think you are, especially when you're anxious about trying to sleep. I think you're over aware of your body, obviously, but actually often a lot of the time you are closer to sleep than you think you are. Or at least that's my personal experience of it.
Right now, yeah.
Right now, just all the time. Just in a permanent state of being really close to sleep.
It's true. So that was it last week. It was more of a personal thing rather than like
super relevant right now
or whatever. But yeah, it could be helpful for other people hearing it, and I'm keen to hear their experiences as well. So if anybody has any tips or ideas or things that they've been experiencing from a sleep point of view, let us know. Pop it in the comments, and we'll discuss it. But what about this week? What are we doing this week? We've had a little pre-meeting.
So focus, challenge. So my main thing this week is that next week we were meant to have, or are still having, our member board meeting. So these are quarterly meetings that we have with a group of our members that we picked nearly this time last year, actually, who hold us accountable for decisions we make. They get insights into our metrics and generally kind of share their opinion and feedback on kind of ideas we have for the business going forward. So we meet on a quarterly basis, and our next one and our last one with this set of members is meant to be next week. And obviously we can't do that in person anymore. So my current kind of like focus for this week is coming up with a plan on how best to deliver that virtually. And I think that some of the challenges that are different from that in comparison to just having, say, a meeting where you're kind of just like we do, where you're just having like a one-to-one chat, or even a team meeting that's more kind of like delivering information, because our member boards tend to be very interactive in terms of what the feedback that we get and how we have those conversations. I'm going to be having like a bit of a brainstorm around the best ways to deliver that kind of online. Also quite exciting, I think, to kind of be able to come up with some different ways we can do it interactively that don't require us to all be in the same space. I mean, we've had people kind of call into the member boards before, so that side of it isn't impossible, but it is definitely going to be different. So that should be good. But that's my main focus / challenge for this week, is that, especially as it's the last one, we were planning on going out for dinner afterwards, and now that is not going to happen. So like, can I think of maybe this is when we do the virtual pub. Maybe this is it. We do it after the member board. Maybe that's the first trial of it that we do. But I would like to do something like that, just to kind of make sure we're still treating it in the same way as we have done in the past, just doing it, obviously delivering it differently.
I've got an idea right now, actually.
Have you? Okay.
I'll share it probably with you afterwards, because don't want to spoil it for the people on the member board if it ends up being a surprise. But remind me, and I'll share that. Sure. But yes, really important thing, obviously, that quarterly board meeting. Just
super important, especially at a time like now, because like for us, it's not just about them checking in on us, but also gives us really good insights into how our members are handling the current situation. Obviously, we kind of have regular talks and within the community, we're like chatting with people and constantly trying to do what we can to support people at the moment, but actually having like a dedicated amount of time with our members or our member board to be able to get that insight into how they're dealing with the challenges right now, and what as a business what they need as both founders and as businesses at the moment, I think is super important. So it comes at a good time.
Really good learnings for us for where we go.
Definitely. But what about you? What's your focus / challenge for this week?
I think it's to do what I felt like I should have been doing a little bit more of last week, but didn't like we were being so reactive last week because we thought that was the right thing to do, and I don't know whether there is a right or wrong thing to do, but our version of that was, okay, we need to be reactive. So there's two things that are really the focus for this week, which is first, the crowdfunding campaign is trying to get that maxed out. We've still got a little bit of way to go, with not many days left, and so the odds are against us, but we have a really loving community who've already given, quite a lot. And so it takes, 2, 3, 5, 10 companies to give, a small amount of money relative to their annual turnover, or even what's, available to them right now, to be able to make a big difference to a lot of people. The aim will be to get more people on board with that, and have them.
I think, regardless of the outcome for that, I think on a personal level for us too, seeing the amount of goodwill that's come out of the community at the moment is like, it's just incredible. Like, it's meant a lot to like me personally, to like see the kind words and the support that people have been offering. As part of this,
people who have, a couple of people have said, look, I barely have anything right now, but here's what I can do. It really puts it into perspective as to how valuable what we hope we're doing is to people. Like, I think Owen was just like, look, it's not even payday yet, and things are really tight right now, but here's 10 quid, and you're just like, that
means so much. It means so much. Yeah,
100%. Like somebody said to me while we were fundraising before this kicked off, obviously, which we've halted for now, something along the lines of, but who buys community? And I'm like, not only do they buy it, but they pay more than we ever thought they would for it, because they value it so much, beyond what our very low affordable pricing is anyway. So clearly there's something there, and that powers the other thing, which was the learning from last week, allowed me to figure out that actually the gut feel I had around using this not only to be reactive but to be proactive about planning where we're going next is something that we should be doing. So I'm going to take a couple of afternoons and turn them into planning sessions, think about product, think about things really deeply, like the algorithm that you mentioned around introductions. Like, can we plan that out, and then bring those and present those back to you to go, okay, here's what the logic of that looks like, and have that hopefully 90% correct, and then have you tear it apart and then refix it afterwards. So,
but that's one of those things that we actually said was we're going to present a bit of a challenge this week, and it'll be interesting. We'll feedback on this kind of next week, in the sense that usually when we do those planning, brainstorm, strategy sessions, we tend to do them in person, and we'll sit and do an hour or two together, and we'll like proper flesh something out, and that isn't necessarily as easy to do right now because of the situation that we're in. So it's going to be interesting, and I think it will, if anything, it could be really valuable as a way of doing it, and allowing kind of you being the thinking idea person to go away and kind of run with it a little bit, but then still kind of regularly checking in with me to make sure that there's direction in terms of where you're going, and that we're actually being strategic and not just kind of falling down a rabbit hole. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good for you as well, because I think you need a way to channel. It's very easy to get caught up in the now at the moment because everything is so stressful and present. I think it'll be good for you and your anxiety to be able to be thinking about the future and kind of what that looks like. And I think that could be really, that'll be really powerful for you at the moment, and for us as a company as well. So hopefully
there's a lot of things that we need to work on once this is all over, if it ever ends, when it ends. It'll be good to get back to that grindstone, but be super prepared for that. And where some companies might be having to be reactive the whole time, if we can take some of the time to be proactive, then be ahead of the game when we come out the other side. So and you're right, I think it will be good, because being creative is a good outlet for any anxiety, for me certainly personally. So lots to be done, and apparently lots of Animal Crossing to play. So
that's what I'm actually going to go do now. I haven't been working.
Nice. Thanks everybody for joining us for the Monday meeting. Obviously continue to hope that you're staying safe and well, and business is okay. We will continue to keep signposting where we can and educating where we can. We've got some content coming out at the moment that is free for everybody,
and bringing you together when we can as well.
True.
Some
absolutely
stuff coming
keep an eye out for the virtual meetups and sign up to those too. So that's it from me. Don't know about you.
Nope, that's everything I wanted to cover. So.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for hanging with us, and we'll catch you again next week.
Bye guys. Bye guys.